Welcome to the Roy Morgan Risk Labs March 2025 quarterly update. I'm honoured to be standing in for the Roy Morgan CEO, Michelle Levine. Soon I'll announce the latest and much anticipated rankings of Australians' most trusted and most distrusted brands. After that, I'll introduce the inaugural Neo Brand Awards for 2025. The Neo Awards reveal which brands are driving the fast lane of the two-speed consumer economy, brands loved by Australia's higher spending neo-consumers. But first, in distrust news, Anthony Albanese's government was returned in a resounding win, a landslide victory. Roy Morgan called it Australia's first distrust election and said that the election was being held in a miasma of distrust. The election was a powerful demonstration of how distrust shapes public decisions. In the week before the election, Roy Morgan data revealed that Peter Dutton was 220% more distrusted than Anthony Albanese, making him the most distrusted politician in Australia. With that kind of differential, he was never going to win. And while Morgan polling data showed that he wouldn't win, its distrust data revealed why he couldn't win. This poll of polls analysis shows that Roy Morgan identified the magnitude of Labor's win, and the coalition's lost 6 weeks before the election. Yes, it's about accurate sampling, weighting, and the nuances of data science. But Roy Morgan had a deeper perspective and insight into how Australians were feeling about the entire political and social climate. And while the key insight was that while trust influences elections, distrust determines them. And it's distrust we need to fear, because distrust erodes brand equity, it fuels division, and turns uncertainty into a permanent state. Distrust is not just an absence of trust, that's just no trust. Distrust is a force with real financial, reputational, and competitive consequences. Distrust weakens a brand, and that's critical because brand strength is a leading indicator for future sales. Everyone measures trust. But back in 2017, Michelle Levine and I used data science to start measuring distrust. How's it being applied to the rankings of industry sectors? And the big news is that the supermarket sector, driven down by Coles and Woolworths, has hit rock bottom. It replaced telecommunications as the most distrusted industry sector in the economy. Mining and petroleum fell by 2 rankings, but on the positive flip side, banks improved 2 rankings, as did payments, cards and loans. The banking sector was largely buoyed by an outstanding performance from NAB, which I'll discuss shortly. Turning now to the individual brands that comprise the industry sectors, let's take a closer look at their current standing in the ever-changing landscape of consumer trust and distrust. Starting with the nation's 20 most trusted brands, there are no changes in the top rankings since the last quarter. Australia's most trusted brands are still Bunnings, followed by Aldi, Kmart, Apple and Toyota. However, there are some interesting moves both inside and outside the top 20. The ABC recorded its worst performance, falling right out of the top 20 most trusted list. Since COVID, the ABC's trust has plummeted by 66%. In more positive news, NAB had a remarkable lift of 112 rankings, pulling the whole banking sector up, and BHP improved 93 places. ING re-entered the top 20 list, but is still 6 places behind Bendigo Bank. These 2 brands were always neck and neck, but over the past year, ING has fallen well behind as the gap widened. The final observation is that the Commonwealth Bank has climbed another 4 rankings. It really seems that the CBA can do nothing wrong in the eyes of both consumers and investors, with its soaring share price making it the most expensive bank stock in the world, and with Australians making it the most trusted bank in Australia. Before diving into the distrust rankings, let's have a quick look at Australia's most trusted brand, Bunnings. While it still holds the top spot in an ocean of trust green, the data shows a concerning trend. Trust is slipping, and distrust critically, is on the rise. Note the steady increase in distrust over the past 9 months. And remember, these are 12-month rolling averages, so the numbers are smoothed out. The Roy Morgan Risk Lab also tracks quarterly and even monthly data for its clients and its own internal use. And having had a quick look at the highly responsive monthly numbers, I can reveal that the picture is not improving. So what's behind these shifts? These are some of the reasons that Australians trust Bunnings. And as you can see, in the March quarter, every one of them suffered a noticeable downturn. And this decline began even before the recent Four Corners report aired on the ABC. But how about the reasons Australians give for distrusting Bunnings? Over the past 2 years, Bunnings has experienced a noticeable increase in distrust, particularly around the concerns of the company's size and market dominance, excessive profit motives, unaffordable price increases, and dishonesty. Remarkably, these were all topics covered in the Four Corners program. And given that the broader media is so widely covering the Four Corners revelations, the Risk Lab will be closely scrutinising the monthly data to detect any further deterioration of Bunnings' legendary reputation. And with the dramatic declines of Woolworths and Coles in everyone's mind, I'm sure Bunnings is alive to the risks. So what's happened with the most distrusted brands? There are no changes at the top of the distrusted list, with only 4 improvements across the whole ladder: News Corp, TikTok, Nestlé, and Harvey Norman. On the deterioration front, however, Google re-entered the list, mainly due to a drop in trust. At the same time, Shein continues its descent into distrust territory, partly due to the poor quality of its products and its questionable supply chain, according to our respondents. Tesla's distrust continues to worsen, putting it in the top 10 most distrusted brands in the country. Back in 21, Tesla was on the trust side of the reputational ledger. Elon Musk has a lot of work to do. Interestingly, Medibank has dropped out of the top 20 most distrusted list. And despite still being more distrusted than the other majors, ANZ has improved 28 rankings to become the nation's 54th most distrusted brand, mainly due to an increase in trust. Now let's take a quick look at some of Australia's most high-profile brands: Woolworths, Coles, Optus and Qantas. These major players have all experienced reputational crises, and their journeys provide valuable insights into the shifting dynamics of consumer trust and distrust. Importantly, we're seeing green shoots of recovery for Woolworths and Coles, with a very, very long way to go, and there are solid gains for Optus and Qantas. The recovery of Qantas is following a trajectory that aligns closely with Roy Morgan's benchmark recovery rate, showing a near consistent upward trend. Despite a temporary dip in March 25, Qantas's recovery has remained largely on track. The major data outage compounded the damage from Optus's initial data breach scandal, significantly setting the brand back in its trust recovery efforts. While progress has been slow, recent signs suggest it may finally be regaining lost ground. So in conclusion, the trust and distrust rankings indicate where brand reputations stand among all Australians. But to shape the future, a brand needs emotional alignment with the right customers in the right cultural moment. And that's where the Neo Brand Awards come in. They spotlight the brands that resonate most with Neos, Australia's higher spending and future-shaping consumers. Some winners won't surprise you, like beauty retail Mecca, fashion brand Zimmermann, and car brand Tesla. But others might surprise you, like Paspaley Pearls, a quiet benchmark for Australian luxury, or Haig's Chocolates, the nation's most loved guilty secret. From airlines to beauty, fashion to finance, daily rituals to digital life, we've tracked the brands hitting the spot for Australia's 5.5 million consumers with a Neo mindset. These 12 categories cover more than sectors. They map the emotional and cultural dimensions of modern brand equity. Watch the full results. The video's available right now. So as Michelle would say, that's a wrap. For more in-depth analysis of trust, distrust, and to watch the full Neo Brand Awards, go to the Roy Morgan YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me. You'll be very pleased to hear that Michelle will be back next time.